Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. Now, sometimes on my podcasts, I'll say that I feel like this is going to be a shorter podcast, and then it winds up being the same length as usual. This time, though, I really think it's going to be a shorter podcast. And the reason for that is I'm recording it a lot earlier than normal. Normally, I record on Saturday or Sunday, but for this podcast, I'm recording it on Thursday because we're going on a little trip over the weekend, the whole family. Terry, me, Courtney, Connor, Jaden, Colton. So we're all taking a little road trip. I won't be around this weekend, so recording the podcast earlier, which means I've got less material. So with that, let's get on with it. So the first thing I want to mention is I met one of my viewers. I was going to say fans, but that always feels weird for me to say that. One of my viewers I met this past week and had coffee with. And I'm not really in the habit of going out and having coffee with my viewers, but this was a special case for two reasons. One, this viewer was in the United States from Israel, and he was doing some charity work. And the other reason is he is also the inspiration behind my 90-second tortilla videos, which I'll link to in the end card if you haven't seen those, because you can really kind of customize those. It's one of the recipes I'm pretty proud of, but I can't really take full credit for it because Zvika, that's his name, he was the inspiration for it. So he and I went out and had coffee, and to me, it's always really, really fascinating to have a conversation with somebody who's not from the US, who is in the US, because it is a reminder of just how good we have it in this country. From the diversity that we have in terms of food and culture and geography and weather. I mean, if you think about it, most other countries are fairly homogeneous in terms of all of those things. Their culture, their people, their language, the weather, the geography. We are really pretty spoiled in this country, but especially I think in terms of consumerism and shopping, and especially grocery stores. It's wild when people come from another country and go into one of our supermarkets. They're ginormous. We have so much, and well, honestly, a lot of it is trash, but think about keto products, for example. The variety that we have, and I know people complain about the cost of keto products, but just the fact that we have such an abundance of them in this country is pretty fantastic, that we have the opportunity to choose from those. And Zvika told me that every time he comes to the United States, he brings an extra suitcase just to load up with food, like low-carb food and keto food, to take back home to Israel. It was great meeting him. It was great having a nice chat with him. And I've said this in the past, but it thrills me every time I get an opportunity to meet one of you. We already have sort of this connection here, I think, in the podcast and in the comments, but that just takes it up one more notch, and it's fun. It's fun for me. And hopefully at some point in the future, I'll make it to one of these keto conventions or something like that and can meet more of you. Which kind of leads me into something that I talked about last week. I talked about how when I do giveaways, very rarely do I get a thank you back from the winners. I mean, I get it maybe a quarter of the time. If I look back over the whole last 4 years of giveaways that I've done, probably about a quarter of the time, definitely less than half of the time. And that reminded me, I don't tell all of you often enough how much I appreciate you. How much I appreciate you taking time out of your day, whether it's to watch this podcast, try out one of my recipes. Your time is something you can't get back, and you've chosen to share that with me. And I just want you to know how much that means to me. So thank you. Next, I want to revisit two topics from last week. The first of which is Temu. I had mentioned that Temu approaches me from time to talk about sponsorship or reviewing a product or things like that. And I got a lot of feedback from both sides, the pro-Temu people and the anti-Temu people. Apparently they make some decent kitchen products, but whenever they approach me with a kitchen product, it's something I just would have no use for, like a countertop dishwasher. Twice they've offered to send me a countertop dishwasher to promo. Another one is a countertop soft ice maker. I'm not exactly sure what soft ice is, but I don't think I have a need for it. But if any of you have purchased some kitchen appliance or kitchen gadget from them that you think is especially worth owning, let me know down in the comments below. Another topic that I covered last week, I had mentioned that there was a company that had approached me and asked if I wanted to do a review, and I said, if you truly mean you want an honest review and blood glucose testing, then yes, and then they went radio silent. This is what happens an awful lot of the time when a company truly what they want me to do is pimp their product and not actually do a review. However, the company did get back to me and said, yeah, that's what we'd like. We would like a review and we'll send you some product to try out. And that company is Royo. So I don't know if you see their ads as often as I see their ads in my news feed, but those bagels look pretty good. And I don't know that I've had a decent keto. In fact, I know I have not had a decent keto bagel. So looking forward to trying that, but now that they actually got back to me, I feel comfortable telling you who they were. The final thing I want to talk about in this very short podcast is something that I bring up from time to time, which is Stoicism. I've mentioned that I'm reading the book, The Obstacle is the Path, or The Obstacle is the Way, I forget, by Ryan Holiday. I also keep this on my desk, the Daily Stoic. So each day there is a quote from one of the Stoic philosophers, and then Ryan Holiday kind of gives his modern breakdown of it. And there was an awesome one just 2 days ago that I'm going to read to you, and hopefully I don't run afoul of Ryan Holiday or any sort of copyright stuff, because I do recommend this. This is good stuff. I'll link to it down in the description below. But let me put on my glasses and read to you from 2 days ago. This is from Epictetus. Whenever you get an impression of some pleasure, as with any impression, guard yourself from being carried away by it. Let it await your action. Give yourself a pause. After that, bring to mind both times. First, when you have enjoyed the pleasure, and later, when you will regret it and hate yourself. Then compare to those the joy and satisfaction you'd feel from abstaining altogether. However, if a seemingly appropriate time arises to act on it, don't be overcome by its comfort, pleasantness, and allure, but against all of this, how much better the consciousness of conquering it. Then here is Ryan Holiday's commentary on this quote from Epictetus. Self-control is a difficult thing, no question, which is why a popular trick from dieting might be helpful. Some diets allow a cheat day, 1 day per week in which dieters can eat anything and everything they want. Indeed, they're encouraged to write a list during the week of all the foods that they've craved so that they can enjoy them all at once as a treat. The thinking being that if you're eating healthy 6 out of 7 days, you're still ahead. At first, this sounds like a dream, but anyone who has actually done this knows the truth. Each cheat day, you eat yourself sick and hate yourself afterward. Soon enough, you're willingly abstaining from cheating at all, because you don't need it, and you definitely don't want it. It's not unlike a parent catching her child with cigarettes and then forcing him to smoke the whole pack. It's important to connect the so-called temptation with its actual effects. Once you understand that indulging might actually be worse than resisting, the urge begins to lose its appeal. In this way, self-control becomes the real pleasure, and the temptation becomes the regret. And the timing of that particular dose of philosophy couldn't have been any better for me, and I think for a number of you. For me, because we're going off on a vacation, and a vacation tends to be an easy time to let yourself slip on keto, to let yourself cheat. It's just a couple of days of vacation, and then you wind up feeling crummy, or at least I do. I wind up putting on probably 5 pounds, and I get some achiness, some inflammation. So great reminder for me. But it's also great timing for a number of you, because a number of you have left comments for me recently talking about how over the holidays you kind of fell off the keto wagon and have been struggling to get back on. So hopefully you found this little passage inspirational. And remember how good you feel when you're doing keto. You can get that back. If you've fallen off the wagon, you know how to do it. You've been there before. Get back on that horse. But that is going to be it for this podcast. As I said, I'll put a couple of the 90-second tortilla videos up over here, so you can check those out if you've never seen those. As always, thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching.